Time now for Space Watch. Joining me live on a Friday for all the space news of the week, Brad Tucker, astrophysicist and cosmologist at ANU. First story we're looking at, it might be possible to reach another star system in only 20 years. So, you know, easy to get there. You know what I'm going to ask next? What can we find? What's the point of this? What are we getting to? Real life? Intelligent life?
Well, the fact that, we've never even seen anything else besides a few planets, to be honest, in our own solar system up close. And that's kind of, I think, the exciting thing. At the current technology right now, it takes 75,000 years to get to the nearest star system. But now with this idea of using a huge array of lasers to shoot at a sail and then blast that sail off into space, we think that, we could reach the next star in a couple of decades.
So this is not powered by...
No, so essentially it's like, essentially you put the sail...
Lasers pushing it out.
That's right, and then once you're traveling at that speed, there's nothing to slow you down. So you really just need that kickstart, and you can keep going. So a new study...
How do they make sure it goes straight? What if there's just nothing else to stop it not going straight?
Well, that's one of the configurations that's just been calculated is how do you spread the lasers around the world so you actually push at the right angle, at the right time, and the right energy. So they need about a few gigawatts of energy to kickstart this. So, we're talking about billions of times a bulb. What was surprising, I guess, in the latest thing is it's actually not that far off being achievable. And that we think that maybe all this would be in 100 years. Well, actually, at the rate of our current technology with lasers, maybe it's only a decade or two being to do this. So if you can get to the next star system, then we can take up-close photos of the star and the planets around it in a way we just would have never even considered being an option.
So it can ping along with no petrol and still take a camera as well.
Exactly, you take cameras and all those radio receivers to essentially do a quick flyby, imaging those things. And so it's really getting to that step from someone said, hey, well, maybe this could be a cool idea to, well, actually, maybe we can build this thing and go there.
They'll have to do a whole lot because space dust could destroy them. I mean,
that's right. So
you get a hole in it and you're cooked, basically.
Well, one of the ideas was, do you just build actually a bunch of these at the same time and shoot them off, and then, you lose a few along the way, but at least one or two make it. So that's kind of these current designs, and this is being led in terms of the designs of lasers here in Australia.
And we'll get to Alpha Centauri or whatever.
In 20 years.
We might still be talking about it then.
So that's the thing, right? We could still have a Space Chat Friday when it's actually approaching that start. That would be amazing.
Jeff Bezos and his brother, meanwhile, going on the first Blue Origin flight. Here's what I want to know about this. These just vanity projects. I mean, it's all these rich people. You say it sort of helps overall because it brings the cost of everything down, right? So do the space sort of, I don't know, culture and team allow these and encourage them because ultimately it helps exploration as well?
It's a very interesting question because you're right. This just starts as, Elon Musk wanted to go into space. Richard Branson wants to expand and go into it. Jeff Bezos has always said, I want to be an astronaut, go into space. So what do? You just become a billionaire and build your own rocket. And look, at least he believes in this system, that he's putting himself on it. What I would note is Elon Musk has said he hasn't wanted to go on one of his yet. He wants to go to Mars, but he hasn't talked about going to near space. Richard Branson has as well. So it's at least a big credibility, or literally putting his life in his own belief.
That's true, I guess.
To do this.
How long would it take to go to Mars and back?
So, I mean, Mars, you're talking about 7 months to get there. Mars is a huge jump.
Right.
And when they're talking about doing this, it's a long-term journey, and Elon Musk wants to do it. But I do think you have to raise the question is, all right, well, these billionaires can do anything, and he said it is a slight vanity project. One of the reasons he's chosen to go up on July 20th is so that he can beat the other two. And July 20th is also the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Right.
So, it's a big statement, right? It's not necessarily for science. This is for your ego.
It's another version of a big deer head on the wall, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
It brings me to SpaceX and Axiom Space. So they've agreed to fly 3 more private astronaut missions to the space station. A thrill for them, I'm sure. But what do they do up there? I mean, are they, idiots like me? What does that button do? What happens here?
So this is a very different configuration. So Axiom Space is essentially, instead of being an astronaut part of a company or a country, you're an astronaut now part of a company. You have science goals, mission goals, and you're essentially a professional astronaut, but instead of being paid by the US or European government, you're paid by Axiom.
Right.
Now, Axiom is actually started by a former head of NASA and headed up by a whole bunch of NASA astronauts. So they're actually essentially people who said, we know how to do this. We can actually build a private company so that instead of you having to be American citizen, now you essentially can be any citizen and participate.
It's sort of like the direct commercialisation of space, which happens anyway, but this is a direct link. Pay for it all your own way and then you can get what you want.
Exactly. So it's a very, instead of just being all about profits going to a company, a very direct way of taking it out of a national sector and to the private company. And their first mission, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is scheduled for January, and they already inked to say, we don't want to send 3 more up, each with a different crew. So it actually ultimately means you could imagine like an Australian or New Zealander actually going up on this instead of being reliant on Americans.
I know we've got a lot of tech out of space exploration. Let me ask you this. Is this true? It feels like an old wives' tale that one of the early missions, the US spent all this money and developed this pen that could work without gravity, and the Russians took up a pencil.
Yeah. So that is an old wives' tale, to be fair. The space spin that can write up and down. So that was actually developed as like a product by the company that NASA actually never used. However, but there are some times where people develop maybe overly engineered things that don't need to be because of space, or conversely overly engineer something and then realize, oh wait, it actually works in a dramatically different world. Solar panels being a good example, actually. Solar panels don't actually have to work as well in space as they do on Earth.
Because it's so close to the sun.
There's less atmosphere, less things to do. And so it's one of those cases where solar panels just are over-engineered in space because they just work easier, but benefited us here on Earth.
Talk next week. I'll ask you some stupid questions again then, Brad.
Anytime.